Hi everybody, it's Christina. Welcome back to Adventures in Polish Land. Today I am here to pick my June TBR for the American Lit Reading Challenge, where I am reading a book set in every single US state and territory. We have reached the halfway mark of the year and I am a little bit behind, so let's catch up on where I'm at. I have two books that I'm still carrying over from TBR's past. The first one is The Call of the Wild by Jack London. This was from April's TBR, and it's a book set in Alaska. And then I have one from May as well. It's The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and this is set in Vermont. So I am 2 books behind, but I am also 1.5 to 2 books ahead. So we kind of even things out. And that's because I did read a book set in Oklahoma, which was Out of the Dust by Karen Hess. I read that earlier in the year. And right now I am reading Olive Kittredge by Elizabeth Strout, and this one is set in Maine, and I have about 100 pages left. So I am kind of on track, kind of behind. It depends on how you look at it, but I am going to pick out 5 new states or territories from my cup and create a TBR for June. And I'm hopeful that as the summer is here, the days are a little bit longer, the weather hopefully will be a little bit nicer. Right now it is pouring rain and cold outside. I think the high today is 49 degrees. But hopefully I will have some better reading time ahead of me and I will get a little bit more reading in over the summer. So I'm going to pick 5 places out of this cup and then I will create a TBR and share it with you. So let's go ahead and get started. I will shake this up as always. Let's pick out 5 places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see what I got this time around. And if I get Oklahoma or Maine out of the cup, we will pick another one. So first up, we have Missouri. We have Florida. Okay, we got a tough one. U.S. Virgin Islands. I was wondering when these territories would start popping out. Another tough one. We have the Northern Mariana Islands. They were all going to come out at once, right? Even though I've mixed up this cup several times. And then we have Michigan, which I feel like I already read a book in Michigan. It must have been Minnesota. Okay, so we have, just to recap, Missouri, Florida, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Northern Mariana Islands, and Michigan. So I am going to be right back. I'm going to consult my list of books that I already have pre-planned and then do some research for the others. Okay, I am back with my TBR, and I'm not going to lie, that took me nearly an hour because one of those territories was very, very challenging. Let's start out with the 2 books that I had pre-planned. The first one is for Florida, and I am going to be reading Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. I've had this on my want to read list at the library from about the time it came out last year, and what I know is that it's about a home where pregnant young girls or teens get sent to have their babies in hiding because it was frowned upon to have them young and or out of wedlock. So this was set in the 1970s in Florida, and I am very interested to read it. The other book that I had pre-planned for this challenge is for a book set in Michigan, and that is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. I honestly know nothing about this book except that it is so hyped, and I've had people both in my real life and obviously on BookTube and in the book community online that have absolutely loved this book. So I've really been wanting to read it. I feel like at one point in time I knew what it was about, but I've since forgotten. However, now that I'm talking, I'm pretty sure the play Our Town that I read last month is featured in this novel. Then we have Missouri, which I had a book on my list pre-planned for Missouri, and that was Burnt Offerings by Laurel K. Hamilton. But then when I went to look up that book, it said it was the 7th in a series, so I'm not sure why I had that on my books to read list. It is the 7th book in a vampire series, and apparently you do have to read all those books in order. you can't read them as standalone novels. So I did a little bit of research, and I'm going to be reading Stoner by John Williams. And this one is about a dirt poor Missouri farming family that sends their son to college, and it's supposed to be a historical fiction, classic literary fiction, and it has to do with education. And Max from Well Done Books has a review on Goodreads that says it was a 5-star for him, and he says, "Is this the defining novel of 20th century American literature, academia, world wars, love affairs, the Midwest? It has it all and is so eloquently written." So I definitely trust Max, and I look forward to reading that one. Then we have the U.S. Virgin Islands, and this was actually a bit easier to find a book for than I expected. I'm going to be reading Land of Love and Drowning by Tiphane Yanique, and it says this is a debut from an award-winning writer. And in the early 1900s, 2 sisters are orphaned by the shipwreck with their half-brother. So it sounds like a survival story, and it has really good reviews, so I am interested in reading that one. The one that caused me the most difficulty was the Northern Mariana Islands, and I think part of that was because when I was researching, books set in Guam were kind of linked into the Northern Mariana Islands, but if you know, Guam is actually a separate territory, so I had to do a lot of research and I was not finding much. There were a lot of history books and there were some war books, but I didn't really want to read those. So eventually I found this one. It's a memoir and it's called I'm Laughing Because I'm Crying, and it's by Youngmi, and it is about her journey growing up. And it says it's set in Korea but also in Saipan. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And it says a place next to a place that Americans might know. So this looks like it's going to be a comedic memoir. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, and I know this one might be skirting the rules a little bit because it doesn't look like it's completely set in the Northern Mariana Islands, but it looks like it will go through her experience growing up as somebody with that heritage. And I think this goes to show that we really don't have a lot of books, at least that I can find easily through a Google search that took me nearly an hour, that are set in the Northern Mariana Islands. If you have any recommendations, I would love to know. And I look forward to when I pick Guam out of the cup, because it looks like there are quite a few books set in Guam, but this is what I have to go with for this round in June. So just to recap, we have Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix for Florida, Tom Lake by Ann Patchett for Michigan, Stoner by John Williams for Missouri, Land of Love and Drowning by Tiphane Yanique for the U.S. Virgin Islands, and finally, I'm Laughing Because I'm Crying by Youngmi for the Northern Mariana Islands. That is it for my June TBR video. I hope if you're new here, you will go back and see how I've been doing with this challenge all year long. I have a playlist with all of the videos I've made thus far, and I will link that in the description box for you, along with links for all of the books I mentioned today. I hope you're having a great day. Let me know what you are reading in June, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!